Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome yet again to another episode of Dinner Guide. I am your host Chef Andy, and today I'm going to be bringing a bit of an Asian twist to a beautiful classic dish. Without further ado, I'll introduce the ingredients and I'll just tell you more about it as we continue. So from my furthest right, I've got a nice beautiful chicken cube there. I've got a nice ginger root that's peeled. I've got some teriyaki and some soy sauce. I've also got some sesame seeds, some kaffir, lime leaves, a bit of lemon juice. I also got some chicken breast there, a bit of some leek, a bit of some celery there, a bit of some mushroom, some white onion, some broccoli, some carrot, a bit of garlic there, and last but not least, a bit of salt. So without further ado, we're gonna take a short commercial break. If you're taking notes or you're writing down this recipe today, do take this chance to grab your pen and paper, and when we come back, we're just gonna go dive into it. See you in a short while. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We were just introducing the dish. We are going to be working with a bit of chicken and mushroom. We're also going to be working with some broccoli, some beautiful herbs, and some spices as well. And we're going to be turning this beautiful, simple stir fry into something you can all be able to make yourselves at home. So without further ado, I already have a hot pan going. We're just going to start off by cleaning our vegetables really quickly. So I'm just going to quickly peel about 2 carrots, or I would say in grammage about 60 to 50 grams. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're just going to julienne this really quickly. Right. So that is done. I'm just gonna move those to a bowl on the side. So with the carrots, I'm just going to first of all take one of the sides off. I just need to trim the sides just a little bit, just to be able to get some beautiful julienne cuts out of that. So very simply, I'm first of all going to cut them lengthways. And then last but not least, just finish those off into some nice thin juliennes. Right, so I'm actually not going to throw away the chunks that we trim on the sides. I can actually reserve those and I could use them for maybe making a soup or a sauce later on. But for now, all we're going to be looking for is just some beautiful cuts of julienne. Right, so very thin, as I mentioned earlier. It's a stir fry, so remember this, we basically are trying to cook the dish in the shortest time possible, but at high heat. So it's actually the reason why we're going to give our pan a bit of time to heat up. Right, simple as that, and this I'm just going to reserve. So right now I have my onions. I'm just going to take you through the process of preparing your mixture just before you get into the stir frying stage. So with this, I'm just going to go with some half moons. And the reason why I'm actually cutting them a little bigger in size, this is just to be able to really give your stir fry a bit of a beautiful look. Remember one particular thing to remember when making a stir fry. First of all, it's a very good technique to actually be able to show your clientele or your guests how best you can actually be creative with your vegetables and your cuts. And second of all, remember you're also not cooking it for a very long time, so it is very particular that your vegetables are just thin enough to actually cook very quickly in a very short time. So I'm just going to finish slicing a bit more onion there. We're just going to reserve that on the side. So very, very simply, always a nice technique to start by. Always a nice technique to actually, or rather a good position to start by actually cutting all your vegetables and just being able to actually find those beautiful shapes and sizes. So for the mushrooms, I'm just going to cut them right through the middle lengthways. Right, I'm just going to use that much. And now for cauliflower broccoli, I'm just going to grab a small knife quickly, and all we are going to do is just take out those flowers. So with this, I'm just going to cut them out individually into a bowl on the side. So very, very simple. If you do have some kitchen scissors, also very, very convenient method of deflowering your broccoli. But I personally like to use a small knife because it is a little lighter on your hands, and it actually gives you a bit of leverage to actually cut really into those large florets. So that is done. And now all I'm going to do is split this up slightly and take off the excesses. Right, so that should be about okay. So this is just about over 1 cup of broccoli. So this should actually be able to serve about 2 to 3 people as a side, of course, not as a main dish. Right, so we have everything set. Now all we're going to do is grab our garlic and ginger firstly. So I'm first of all going to just peel my garlic really quickly. First step is to take away the skins as well. All I'm going to do with that is give it some nice thin slices. So I'm gonna go with about 3 garlic cloves for this particular dish. So that actually should come to just about half a tablespoon. Right, simple as that. And we're just going to start off with a nice drizzle of olive oil. So I'm gonna go in with about a tablespoon. And I'm gonna turn my heat a little higher now. Alright, so very, very particular, very, very important to actually, first of all, take your time to cut vegetables. It's also very crucial that you actually take your time to cut them in advance, because remember, as I said, stir fry is actually a very fast method of cooking, and you don't want to be spending time cutting right through the frying process. Right, so we're just going to let that pan continue on the side, and to this pan, we are just going to start with our vegetables. We're also going to be frying our chicken afterwards, and then we're just going to incorporate the dish into one complete dish. So I'm just going to go in with my garlic. I'm just going to give that just a few seconds to just infuse with the oil. And then I'm going to go in with my white onions. Just give that a toss. Very, very simple. Also going to go in with our carrots. Basically just keep tossing that. Remember, the pan is going at very high heat. Right, to that I'm going to add about 3 pieces of lime leaf, and I'm also just going to go in with a bit of that beautiful ginger root. So I'm just going to cut up some nice thick chunks. I also have here a bit of this beautiful celery. So I'm just going to shred that just quick and rough. Right, simple as that. So our vegetables are now just starting to color. We're just starting to get the aromas coming through. So at this particular stage, I'm going to go in with a bit of soy sauce, and a bit of teriyaki. We're just gonna keep tossing those. And then we're gonna go in with our mushrooms and our broccoli. So I'm just going to continue frying this at high heat, just continuously tossing it. Remember, you actually don't have to keep tossing your pan as I am. I just like to cook that way, but if you do have a wooden spoon or pair of tongs, that also works really well. So we're just going to keep frying that for just a few more seconds. And to that, we're also just going to lightly season that, so about 2 pinches of salt. And we're also going to be adding just a bit of our coriander and a bit of our parsley. So I'm just going to chop those together. Just quick rough chop, as I said. And we're going to add our parsley, our coriander, and our celery all at once. And just keep tossing that just until it slightly starts to color. And I'm gonna just turn my heat a little lower, and we're just gonna give that a few minutes to continue. And in the meantime, I'm just going to grab this beautiful cut of chicken. So I'm working with the breast particularly. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to cut those into some nice long strips. Remember, this particularly is for presentation purposes. Right, so onto another hot pan, gonna add a bit of some olive oil, about a tablespoon. And all we are going to do is spread that chicken around and just give it a bit of time to color. And while we do that, I'm just going to turn off the heat on this side as well. Quickly rinse my hands. So we're just basically going to allow the chicken just to color and just to brown on the sides. I'm just going to give that a turn. So remember, this is just a process of coloring your chicken first before combining it into your complete stir fry. I'm just gonna give those a turn. So remember, at high heat, this your chicken should actually be able to color in not more than 5 to 6 minutes. So remember, this is just a process of giving it a bit of color, and then we're going to incorporate it with our vegetables. And this can easily be served with a bit of rice on the side, and it really, really goes well even on its own as a dish. Right. So we're just simply going to grab a few of these other ingredients remaining. So as I mentioned earlier, I do have a nice beautiful cube here, which we're only going to go with half. So I'm just going to break half of that, and I'm just going to crumble it right around the chicken pieces. And then basically just give that a shake and just allow the flavors to infuse in the pan. Right, so the chicken actually starts to really incorporate with the flavors of that beautiful stock cube. And as you can see, it actually just starts to color immediately. So I'm just gonna give that a toss. Right, so this should actually be sitting in your pan for not more than 7 to 8 minutes, just to give them a really nice coloring. And remember, it's actually crucial also to have a very hot pan for that reason, because you do actually want to cook your chicken as fast as possible. So I'm just going to allow that to continue for another 3 to 4 minutes, and we're going to take a short commercial break. And when we do come back, I'm going to show you how to combine this beautiful dish and how to serve it. So see you after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is now just about done. Remember, we were just coloring our chicken. So this is now just beautifully colored, and now we are just going to give that a few minutes to cool off, but we're going to do that while moving it onto another plate. So I'm just going to turn off the temperature quickly. And this we're just going to set aside, and then we're just going to reconstitute the whole dish by turning it into a stir fry in a few minutes. But before we do that, I do have a pot of boiling water here, so I'm just going to add just a bit of olive oil to it. I'm also going to add just a pinch of salt, about 2 pinches actually. And this water, we are basically just going to be cooking some pasta in there. So I'm just going to drop it right in the center and spread it like that. So that just helps the pasta from sticking to itself. And all we are going to do is just continue to just stir the water and stir the pasta in. Remember, the idea is to actually just allow the pasta to continue cooking slowly as it actually slides right into the bottom of the pot. So very crucial to always just give it a mix, so just move it around with a spoon just to make sure it doesn't stick. And we're just going to give that a few minutes to cook. So one thing I like to particularly remind most of you viewers is stir fries are more about a self-explanation, or rather an expression of your own style of cooking. So I'll always insist, if you're going to be going with a stir fry, just a few pointers to always remember. Your starch can actually be incorporated with the dish or served on the side. So there are a lot of questions that have arose in the past. People or other clients actually asking you as a chef, what do you recommend with my stir fry? And to just answer the question, I would always say it's actually just about you, the cook, actually expressing yourself. So I would particularly love my stir fry with a bit of pasta cooked in with it. I like my stir fries as well, just with the stir fry and the veggies and everything in there, maybe with just a portion of rice on the side. That really goes well. And remember, just another thing also to remind you, stir fries are very, very light and more of a transition kind of a dish. So you could actually be having a stir fry as a light dinner, and maybe have a very heavy accompaniment with it much later on, or something even as a dessert. So definitely a good option, especially if you're thinking of going really big on a dessert after dinner. Pasta and rice are definitely good options to go with your stir fry. Occasionally I would actually also just fry some potatoes and just stir fry them in there together, and it actually still gives you a very beautiful dish. Right, so basically remember, the idea here is not to overcook the pasta, so we're just basically going to get it to al dente, which means it should just have a bite. Right, and while that continues, we're just going to start reheating the pan now. So remember, a very, very important thing to remember with stir fries, it's always important to give your pan a bit of time to heat up. So we're just going to just empty those granules quickly, and we're gonna give the pan just a few seconds to heat up. And I'll also drizzle just a tiny bit of olive oil just to give the pasta a nice beautiful gloss and a beautiful finish when we toss it together. Right, so our pasta is just about ready. Right, so this should be just about ready to go. So I'm just going to let the pasta continue there. And in the meantime, we're gonna get this pan nice and beautifully hot. And just some finishing ingredients just to finish off the dish. I do still have some of that soy sauce reserved. I also have a bit of lemon juice and just some beautiful sesame seeds there. So I'm gonna start with the sesame seeds. So basically the idea of sesame seeds is to give it a nice beautiful flavor. Right, and just gonna add the veggies to that. And then the chicken. And basically what you want to do is add them just in the nick of time. As soon as your sesame seeds start to pop, just gonna give that a toss like that. And as you can see, the sesame seeds do actually do much more than you'd expect them to. They actually give it a nice, beautiful look. And then to that I will add a bit of lemon juice and a bit of that soy sauce. We're just gonna keep tossing that. So basically it's very crucial for you to keep tossing it through. This actually allows your sauce to coat your vegetables much more evenly. Right, and to that we're just going to add a pinch of salt. And last but not least, we're gonna go in with our pasta. So I'm just going to move that onto the hot pan on the side. Right, so simple as that. Something you can actually be able to do in a short span of time. And as I said, if you're looking for a beautiful, lazy dinner to actually have tonight, this is definitely one of the best options you could go with. Right, so we're just gonna turn off that heat. And remember, because the dish does need that bit of juiciness to it, I'm not going to discard the water. Just gonna hold it for a few minutes. And in the meantime, we're just going to just mix our pasta with our vegetables and chicken. And as you can see, nice beautiful presentation to it, beautiful color from the soy sauce and the noodles. And now this is just about ready, but just before it comes off the pan, I'm actually going to use a spoon and I'm just going to add just a little bit of that pasta water. So the beautiful thing with that, it actually just keeps it from drying out, and it actually allows you to really just get that beautiful finish to your veggies and your pasta. Right, and now this is about done, so we're just gonna turn off the heat. And I'm just going to grab a plate. So particularly for pasta, I like to use a big plate of this kind because it actually makes it a little more easier to eat your pasta. Remember, it's a little tougher on a flat plate because you do actually need a bit of room to twist your pasta around in. So we're just gonna go straight to the plating. And for that, I always like to have my tongs just next to me and just a nice beautiful spoon like that, just something you should be able to lift your pasta with. Remember, if you don't have this particular one, a fork will work really well. So we're just going to place that right in the center of the plate. And all you're going to do now is use your tongs basically just to lay your dish out. So I particularly like to use tongs because it actually allows you to get that bit of symmetry and a bit of order when plating. And it actually is a very clean and easy way to manage to do so. So we're just going to spread our vegetables right around the sides of the plate. Remember, the idea as well is to also create a bit of a height element to your plate. You don't want it to look flat and boring. Remember, food with a bit of height actually looks a little more appealing. So for that, I'm just going to use a spoon. I'm just going to get a nice, beautiful serving of the pasta right over the top. And then just drop everything else right in the middle, and I'll just let everything just spread out from there. So ladies and gentlemen, as I said, a very simple technique of working with a stir fry. Remember, there are also many other options. You do get stir fries that are actually spicy. You do get ones that actually have a bit of a creamier finish. I particularly like to serve mine just like that, but as I said, you're not limited to the options we've used on the show. This is just for demonstration purposes. So it has been a pleasure showing you how to make this beautiful dish today. My name is Chef Andy and I've been your host. Do tune in onto our next episodes, or do actually check out our videos. There's plenty in stock for you to learn from this show. I also recommend that you do check out our Facebook page, leave your comments, your inquiries, or any other questions you may have, and we will be definitely glad to get back to you. So from the studios and myself, it has been a pleasure being with you today, and until the next episode, have a lovely evening.
Bye.